Hey, it's Jeremy from OpticHouse.com. You know, when I was loading these videos up to record the audio, I was listening to the band Mastodon, and they go surprisingly well with time-lapse drawing videos. There's something about the energy of that and the energy of the inking that seems to go well. As I was drawing this page and I looked at the videos, there's a brief break coming up where I jump ahead and the page is a lot more finished because I started working on this page at home, but I also tend to do work. I'll draw comic pages during my lunch at work, and I prefer, if possible, to have an entire page recorded so you can see the whole process of me drawing the whole thing. But I also need to get work done is whatever time I can find, and there's never a perfect time or a right time to get artwork done. And that's something you should always remember, is you can always find excuses to not draw or to do it later, and waiting so I could record the whole comic page would be one of those excuses. And so I just got to make do with what I can, but I do feel bad that I don't capture the entire drawing process from beginning to end on some pages. Right here, as I started drawing in the wings, I was thinking about something that I don't know if I've addressed since I've been working on Morningstar, which is how much of a pain in the ass it is to draw all of these wings. Not necessarily that drawing wings are difficult. I think that drawing them accurately are difficult. I mean, mine are not photo reference. I probably should use a little bit more reference and look at more birds' wings while I'm drawing them. What I do mean about it being a pain in the ass or what's difficult is dealing with them narratively or compositionally. Because the wings, the way that they frame a composition, the way they act in a page, in order to really tell and see that they're wings on humans, you kind of have to have them spread and have them outward. But the problem is sometimes that will block a lot of things in stories, or it'll make the actual physical actions the characters are doing awkward. This is a fantasy story. Obviously it's not meant to be, realistic, but sometimes when you have these people walking around with these big-ass wings, they would get in the way of a lot of the physical actions the characters are taking. And so over the course of this series, I've drawn them in a few different ways. The first thing I did was, when I started this series, is I would tend to always have the characters have their wings outstretched in different positions, but I would try to compose the page so that the characters weren't blocking each other or important actions. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And after a while, I switched to the second thing, which was to draw the wings selectively. Now, that didn't mean that I would just randomly pick and choose when not to draw them. Generally speaking, I would try to put the wings in every scene, but if there was a particular panel that would cover up the storytelling, I would either eliminate the wings for that one shot, or I would draw them in sort of a weird crunched up position so you couldn't really see them that much. And that still, I will fall back on that from time to time. What I've been trying lately, in like the past two issues, is to draw them, and I think I really only got into it a lot in the most recent issue, but trying to draw them like a cloak. Sort of like the way the wings were in Greg Weisman's old Disney cartoon Gargoyles, where when the characters' wings weren't outstretched, they would be sort of wrapped around them like a cloak, and the clouds would kind of fold over the front. I've done a lot more of drawing them in sort of a cloak-like form where the characters don't have their wings open. Like they're almost like it becomes like an overcoat. That is something that's still sort of a work in progress. I'm trying to find the best ways to make that look work. Some panels it works well, some it doesn't, and I end up doing more of a combination of the other things that I mentioned earlier. So, like all things, it's a work in progress. As I'm also looking at this page, you'll notice that I'm drawing in a lot of the shadow work first. And this is something that, advice that was given to me by my friend Carl Altstetter, longtime comic creator, and benefactor of many a piece of sage comic and art creating advice that I try to take and then fail and then try and fail, or I'm just too stubborn. In this case, he had told me a long time ago that you could save a lot of time by spotting all of your blacks first and then draw the detail in afterwards. Because a lot of times, if you do all your line art first and then come in and do the blacks, you'll find out that there's stuff that you end up just covering up. You save a lot more time, and it helps you really decide how much detail do I need. Because once you spot all your blacks, if you look at it and the page looks really like you've caught a lot of what you're trying to tell story-wise and detail-wise, you may say, all right, I just need a few lines here and there to add in some minor details, and it helps speed up the process. Now, at the time that he told me this, which was almost a decade ago now, I was working on my first graphic novel, Eye of the Gods, and I tried it, and it looked horrible. And I tried again, and it looked horrible. And I tried again after a certain number of pages. I just said, this approach does not work for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it wasn't working for me. So I stopped, and I went back to the way I was doing it, where I was just drawing the line art and then spotting my blacks afterwards. And that went on that way through the rest of that graphic novel and through early parts of Morningstar. And recently, for some reason, I just decided to give it another shot, tried it again, and now it feels like it's really working. And what's the difference? Time, experience. I got better. There's a lot of things that we try to do, much like inking with brush. For many years, I tried to ink with a brush and always got frustrated with the results, and only recently have I been able to actually work with inking with a brush. So a lot of things that we try to do and we can't do, and you just say, oh, well, I guess this doesn't work, or it doesn't work for me. And sometimes the problem is simply we're not good enough to execute the things that we want to do. We understand them conceptually, but get in your hand to make the marks that you want them to make, it takes time and experience and control. For spotting the blacks, I had to learn a lot more about anatomy in order to spot blacks properly. So there's just things I didn't know that I wasn't able to do then. So I would say with anything that you struggle with now, and you say, all right, this isn't working, don't write it off completely. Set it aside, study, work, become better at your craft, and maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, maybe several years from now, try it again. There's stuff that I can't do now that I always keep trying to revisit and come back to down the road. And I mean, if I had given up on brush inking forever, I would never have. Morningstar would look very, very different. So go away and improve your craft, keep studying, keep working, do the things that are working for you, but then come back to these things that you're having trouble with and try them again every once in a while just to see what happens. Who knows? You might surprise yourself. That's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. If you enjoy these videos, please share them. Also, sign up for my weekly newsletter to get a free digital download and see what else I'm working on. Go be creative.